Hello, we're Squeaky Nancy, and you're watching The Indie Bin, a programme all about independent video games.
Imagine a world that's a dystopian nightmare, where the workers are crushed into poverty, where nuclear war seems almost inevitable, and you're ruled over by an iron leader with nothing else in your future but torment, misery, death.
Yeah, life was tough back in Thatcher's Britain, but in the 1980s there was an even bigger boogeyman to be worried about than that. What? You see, the enemy of the day was communism. Stalin's legacy was an all-time high across the entire Eastern Bloc, and it made the West shit themselves. As a Western man, it was really difficult to get even into the borders. And to that end, papers, please. Sorry.
Papers, Please is a gorgeously depressing little indie game that seeks to delve into the working life in a communist country.
It comes from the mind of Lucas Pope, senior disguised as Christian Bale from Reign of Fire, who was credited with work on the first two Uncharted games, as well as his previously released titles 6 Degrees of Sabotage and The Republia Times. An interesting fact about that is that Republia in Republia Times actually appears as one of the nations in Papers, Please. A thing about Lucas Pope that I find absolutely fascinating and makes him an amazing game developer is that in all of his solo ventures he uses this technique, this story arc of what we like to call the bureaucracy thriller.
Yeah, and that sounds like a bit of an oxymoron, really. I mean, bureaucracy thriller, but what he does so well is that he manages to make a boring job, a dull and boring job that you wouldn't really expect to be in a game, exciting, and he really drops you into that atmosphere and that world, and it just brings the same amount of action that you would find in any modern day shooter.
The last game to come to mind of a bureaucracy thriller is Floor 13, a game exploring the workings behind a shady government MI5 director. I mean, no wonder hardly anyone remembers this genre. The last one to do it came out in 1992, on the Amiga. That's over 20 years ago. I wasn't even alive, for sake.
So you might be wondering, yo Ross, what do you know about communist Russia? I'ma tell you, I know nothing. I got a C at GCSE, but thankfully we've called in an expert who knows a little thing or two about communist Russia.
You've got to have to actually put it on.
I'm a serious documentary maker. I am not going to do something like this.
It's in your contract, Danny. You've got to put the hat on.
But the hat's stupid. It doesn't even fit me.
I tell you what, if you put the hat on, you don't have to do the accent.
Soviet checkpoints are something I've never really come into contact with. A lot like polio. Wouldn't really fancy it either. In 1917, that's when the Soviets kicked off. A lot of angry Russian people kicking out a lot of angry Russian posh people. Ever since World War I, it all just went to pot for Russia. As you can imagine, people got a bit fed up with eating boiled cabbage and much preferred salt-flavoured bacon. And a lot like salt-flavoured bacon, it can be a bit deadly, like their cars, and, like the thing of the past, the Soviet checkpoint. So wrap, we got that.
Yeah.
That's the last time I'm doing something like this for you.
We've got to do another
Eat
take,
piss, eat piss.
Thanks for that, Danny. It was incredibly boring.
But enough about that. We want to see gameplay, and I'm sure you do too. Let's take a look at the game. Okay, we're going to go story mode. I'm going to be driving, and Ross is going to be riding shotgun and waving to all the passing chicks.
Indeed.
Looks like my mum, that.
Huh. That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, I suppose so. I've just denied her, though.
Oh.
Sorry, Mum. And you see these pink vice things?
Yeah.
This is a free tip for everybody who's playing. If you get one of those, that means they're a prostitute and their papers are all fine. You can just let them through.
Ah. Look at those sideburns, John.
God, where does hair begin and sideburns end?
You don't see mutton chops like that anymore.
No, I think I'm just going to let you on through.
That's like Elton John.
Jesus! Eric Jensen! It's almost like an anagram. Georgie, he keeps turning up.
Right.
And every time there's something wrong. Now, a lot of people get stuck on it, but what you have to do is you have to point out to the rules and the empty desk.
Okay.
So, because most people just say, you just says, Glory to our Stutzka. You can't deny him. You just sit there just looking at his mug. Oh,
Okay.
Georgie.
Do your decisions matter in this game?
Yes, and also no.
What does an effeminate horse say? Hey!
Get out. I've got you, bitch. I got your number.
Typographical error. I've heard that excuse before.
A likely story. Glory to our Stutzka.
Ooh.
Wow, a 9-year-old girl. Well, I checked again, and your numbers suck. Piss off.
Mm.
And your pigtails are stupid.
Oh,
They are.
it's the 80s, John. Anything goes.
That's why I like slasher films, because people are punished for horrible, horrible dress sense.
Right. You do have to be constantly alert
Yes.
in this game.
Because
That's
what
right.
happens is, after a bit, you sort of let your guard down, you're a bit
Yeah.
relaxed, you sort of get into the swing of things, and then suddenly, BAM! Females! Out of nowhere, with beards.
Right?
Yes.
That ain't no female.
That ain't no female. And later on in the game, you actually have to strip them nude to prove that they are female and male.
Really?
Really, really.
I haven't heard of that before.
You see knockers. Miles and miles of knockers.
And penises.
And penises. Hey, it's
there's
Georgie.
our friend.
Just,
So he's made his own passport this time.
Yeah.
That's nice.
he's men.
That's a good little touch, though, because there's so much doom and gloom and sadness and a balance between the greater good and the machine. And then Georgie comes along.
Yeah. I'll put this on record. This game is not fun. This game is not fun. It's goddamn engaging, but it is not fun. Oh, no. See, if you grant entry brief, it's got a little bit of red on it, it goes that way, I'm going to get a citation, I'm going to get a pay docked. Balls! Balls, there it is. Balls, balls, balls.
Oh, the rent's gone up too.
Oh, now see, Vince Lestrade.
Okay.
Is he going to turn up? See, I wonder if he does. Of course he fucking does.
Oh.
You see this?
Oh.
Now he's going to talk to the nice men with guns.
Uh-oh. What are they going to do to him, John?
They're going to put him on a farm far away.
Are they going to put him in one of those beds, you know, in like American motels that they flip up into the wall and then they just squash him like a cheese sandwich?
What kind of hotels have you been staying in?
Papers. All you say is papers.
Papers.
Papers. So he's saying that he's been set up and it's not true.
You can let him through. You can let him through, and it will change the headline of the newspaper.
Okay.
But he going down.
You going in the hole, Lestrade?
Holy Christ, Karl Marx! Fancy seeing you here. Aha, Daryl Ludden.
Oh, this is the guy that the girl asked you to look out for.
Yes. So what
Right.
you do, you go to discrepancy, which I bought by using the space bar, and just use the letter with it.
Was it worth it?
No.
Oh. Alright, John. Alright.
And your name actually is Simon Affleck.
Ah, feck. Ah, feck.
Ah, feck. Girls.
Girls.
She doesn't have a coat on. Detain her!
John, it's okay. It isn't real. Oh!
What?
What's happening now? There's a guy there.
Oh,
Where'd he come from? Was he got out of a car or something, did he?
I let him through.
You let him through? Oh, John. See, in that case, detaining him would have been the best option, but...
And now who's against detaining? Hello, Chin. How are you? We're going to look for some balls.
My favourite part of the game.
Yes. Papers, please. You check people for balls. Yep. Oh, yes.
He's got at least a ball there. What are we searching him for, John?
Balls. I mean, contraband.
You're obsessed. You gonna ask her to strip again?
You have no passport. Show me boobs. Wow. That's a massive piece. And the gun's pretty big too. Wow, you have a long face.
A horse walked into a bar and the bartender said, "Why the long face?"
And the horse, not understanding English, just shit on the floor and left. Are you visiting? Yes. Is your number right? Yes. Have you got a stupid name? Of course you are.
That's inevitable, I think.
Say it. Say it.
Out
Out loud.
Can't get on. Can't kill you on.
Hey, Macarena.
So now that we've seen the game in action, it's time for us to decide if Papers, Please is going to get a Class 7 apartment in the luxurious indie bin.
Or if it will fester in the forced labour camps and be thrown out the bin.
So for the good things, going on first impressions, Papers, Please is a lovely looking little game for how dull and dank the world that you're playing is in. It really is pretty in its own way. It makes you feel like you're a cog in this huge machine, but that your actions do have some weight, and there certainly are big consequences for some of those actions. It's also very much a tale of morality. You've got to make decisions which will inevitably affect people's lives. It's easy to pick up, it's hard to master, and of course George's attempts to get past you are always a lot of fun.
However, as more of an experienced player, I do have to point out some of the weak points in the game. As Ross pointed out, the game is hard to master, and with that comes a learning curve that might catch new players very unaware during their first playthrough, and may cause frustrations there. Also, the change in gameplay during the final parts of the story campaign, while exciting, I can't help but think that defusing bombs and shooting down revolutionaries moves away from the core point of the game. This is a game in which your character proves that bureaucracy is a weapon just as dangerous as any gun, and I can't help but feel that this message is undermined somewhat when you pick up a weapon yourself.
As you've probably guessed it, this one is Indie Bin.